Good afternoon, everyone. This is Alan Murabayashi, broadcasting live from New York, the world headquarters of PhotoShelter. You are listening to the podcast of I Love Photography Live. You might be watching us on YouTube by going to youtube.com/PhotoShelter, or you might have downloaded the audio podcast by going to iTunes and searching for I Love Photography. As always, I'm joined by my host, Sarah Jacobs.
Hey, Alan, how you doing?
Sarah, you know, a couple weeks ago, I made a new, what we call in the biz, lower third. That is a little thing that has my name on it. And I forgot to make you one. So you have kind of the janky looking one. You have the old janky one.
Yours is very high tech and beautiful, and
Yeah.
mine's old school Google.
Mine has hashtags. Mine has my Instagram account, my Twitter account.
You're going to get so many followers from your lower third.
I'm going to get 0 followers from my lower third. Because most people are listening to the audio podcast. Well, that's okay. It doesn't matter. You know, we describe the photos to you, and you can check out the links for yourself by going to blog.photoshelter.com. And since we missed the show last week, we have a lot to talk about because a lot of stuff has happened in the world. We ought to get right to it. First of all, you know, a couple of weeks ago, there was a big earthquake in Nepal. And then just last week or earlier this week, there was another huge tremor. I think it was 7 something on the Richter scale. They are getting decimated over there. It is a bad scene over there. And Time sent James Nachtwey, who's no stranger to areas of despair and conflict and war photography, etc. And like always, the guy is just really nailing it with the photography. Some really heartbreaking photos. And, you know, Kathmandu, where he's shooting, you know, you've probably seen, Sarah, a lot of those photos where they have the before and afters of architectural things that have been there for hundreds of years that are just flattened. It's really disheartening to see all of this stuff. The one thing that I noticed as well when I was looking at these photos, to change topics, at low res and at high res, Time is doing something with the photos where they're using too much compression. The photos don't look good. You get a lot of really jaggy edges, and particularly there's a few images where there's, you know, blue sky. You know, if you look around his hand here, I know it's hard to see in the broadcast, but if you look at the edges, they're really pixelated. And I'm thinking, you know, you send Jim Nachtwey out there to shoot this stuff, and you're trying to tell this really humanitarianism story, and I think it's a disservice to the photos and to the subjects that it's so noticeable.
So, but you're able to switch to high res?
No, I looked at even the high, you know, the full screen version of them, and you know, they're a little bit bigger, but they still have that same sort of artifact of heavy JPEG compression, which is unfortunate because the photos are, you know, you look at this stuff and the grief and the questions in their eyes, and you're just distracted by weird JPEG artifacts.
Yeah, well, all the more reason to pick up this week's edition of Time, and yeah, one of his images is gracing the cover.
So he's been doing this. This is the second dispatch from Nepal on time.com. Again, you can get all the links on blog.photoshelter.com, but you can see the first set of dispatches out there. But millions of ways to donate. Red Cross, and then I think Facebook was doing something for a while where you could donate through Facebook. So send them your love, all those people in PhotoShelter land. Marcus Bleasdale from 7 received the Robert Capa Gold Medal from the Overseas Press Club for all the work that he's done over the years. And here was an interview on the Lens blog with James Estrin. And I found this interesting because it echoed some of the stuff that we heard from Tim Matsui. I'm going to say about 2 months ago, we interviewed Tim Matsui, who was working on a domestic minor sex trafficking that was happening in the US. And Tim said at some point in his Twitter feed, I'm going to paraphrase, so if I'm butchering it, which I'm sure I will be, he basically said there's no point in doing documentary photography if it doesn't change the lives of the subjects, which is a very activist and progressive viewpoint on documentary photography, because in the past, the photographer is supposed to be invisible. The photographer is just supposed to document the scene. But like Tim Matsui, Marcus Bleasdale in this interview at the end really kind of takes the tact of, you got to go out and you have to make a change, and you have to find organizations that can help affect change, and you have to find organizations that can help fund these types of works where they're not necessarily the mainstream or the Western recognized problem. He doesn't say activist photographer. I'm the one that's been putting that stamp on people. But it's really talking about what he says is the concerned photographer, which to me sort of implies like, I care so much about the subjects that I'm trying to affect change for them.
Right, and it's more than just about winning awards from the work, which is what Tim talked about.
Yeah, and these guys that do it, who take on a project that in often cases becomes very personal, and they do it for years and years and years, they don't care about the awards. I mean, the awards help bring attention to the cause, but you know, they win $10,000 or $20,000 and then they use it immediately to go back and shoot their subjects or make it into a film or something.
Right.
It's a really, really interesting time. And, you know, I'm seeing this a lot from, you know, people who shoot for National Geographic. We've talked to Amy Vitale and the work that she's doing with wildlife conservation. You know, the photographers now are learning to use social media to really help these different causes. And I think it's a really interesting development, and I think it's fantastic. Fantastic stuff. Lauren Greenfield, also on the Lens blog. Lauren Greenfield shot a project in LA many, many years ago. I think it was probably one of her first stories that got a lot of attention on youth culture, called Fast Forward.
I love that body of work.
It was great. You know, just like kids hanging out in their cars and being kids and wearing all this very, very bright clothing. She has obviously blown up in the past decade or so. And most recently, she directed the, what was it, Throw Like a Girl or Like a Girl campaign, which is a big ad during the Super Bowl. And now she's over in China, and she is taking photos of this new generation of the super rich in what she is calling the Bling Dynasty, which I thought was kind of funny because of the Ming Dynasty and all these different dynasties that happened there. So Bling Dynasty, all right, good, funny pun there. But look at this photo. This is a photo of who I believe is like a consultant.
Yeah, she's an etiquette teacher.
She's an etiquette teacher in Beijing, teaching someone who can afford, you know, several $1,000s to learn etiquette, like how to wear a hat. How to wear a hat.
I didn't know you had to learn that.
Oh yeah, in case you're going to, you know, the Derby, you gotta know how to wear a hat. But look at this. This photo is fantastic. There's a blue hat on the table. The woman who's taking the class is reflected in a mirror wearing a red hat. There is a yellow curtain or some sort of draw shade behind her, but it has Chinese characters and calligraphy written on them. So contextually, you know exactly where you are all of a sudden. And then you have this etiquette teacher holding the mirror. And the student is like looking for approval, or how do I look, or what am I supposed to do?
What is this hat on my head?
It's a great article, and the photos are great. And listen, you know, do this for me. If you look at the links, I want you to go to the Lens blog and look at the quality of the photos, the image quality, literally the JPEG compression quality, and then go to the Jim Nachtwey work on time. It's night and day. And I can understand from time's perspective, you know, you want the images to load fast. So you try to reduce the file size and all. But again, I think it's a disservice to the images to have visible compression on them. Fancy champagne. This is great. Gold.
Gold flaked champagne. I thought about you immediately when I saw this.
I did take a, you know, I told you about my online champagne course, but I did a tasting with 22 champagnes on Monday.
Wow.
So we were not served the gold flecked champagne, however.
You might have to buy this, get it imported for the next gathering.
Well, these are great photos, and I look forward to seeing this project progress. Here is like a super luxury yacht, and they hired the dancer Alexa Ira to just dance on the back of the boat, because I guess that's what rich people do.
Lauren is very good at capturing those sort of off moments. So in that photo, for example, there's a man cleaning the boat.
Yep.
While Alexa is dancing. You know, just like this sort of strange.
And this is sort of like the Chinese version of the Queen of Versailles, which was a great documentary.
Yeah, which is Lauren's. Yeah,
which is Lauren, and it kind of points back to the general excess and excessiveness of the ultra wealthy.
Absolutely, that's kind of Lauren's shtick.
Yeah, I'm digging it. This blew up really fast about 2 weeks ago, and then went away even faster.
Yeah.
It was literally like 24 hours on Facebook, and we're talking about how-old.net. And it was a little website put together by some developers at Microsoft who are working on an API for facial detection, the Faces API. And so these two guys put this thing together because part of that API can apparently guess how old you are based on a photo. So they put this thing up, and it went viral for like 24 hours until all these articles started coming out saying, oh, what this really is they're grabbing all of this metadata from your computer so that they can serve you up ads.
So mad.
Right? So crazy. Like your location and what, if they were really smart, what they should have done is when it tells you your age, you correct it. And now they know exactly how old you are.
Oh yeah,
even more ads.
That should have been step 2.
Ho ho. So Sarah, you uploaded. I'm assuming you uploaded an image of yourself.
I didn't because really? I was a little skeptical, from working at a website. With working within the industry, I was like, I wonder why they want this. But someone else uploaded my photo without asking me.
Ooh.
So rude. So anyways, now this howold.net thinks I'm 47.
Oh. That's why I always tell you to wear a sunscreen.
Right.
That photo aging.
Right. And what about you? Did you upload a pic?
I uploaded a couple. I uploaded one that said I was 33 and then another one that said I was 54.
Dang it. They need to get this better.
Yeah, that's not a good algorithm when it's off by 20 years. And it was essentially kind of, it wasn't a blurry photo. My face was very clear. And in neither photo did I think I looked 54 years old.
Never, Alan. No.
What an insult. What an insult. But hey, you know what? I think this facial detection, for all the creepiness, it's pretty darn useful for your own photo library. Well, for example, if I have hundreds of thousands of photos, and if I wanted to find all the photos of you without involving the NSA, facial detection would be a really, really cool way to do it.
Right.
And Lightroom 6, which just came out a month ago, has facial detection, but like Aperture, the thing is really slow and it's not super accurate. So I guess there's still more to be learned with facial detection. That's what I'm saying. Pete Souza is the official White House photographer, and he's been with the president for 6 years, since Obama took office in 2008, I guess it is. And he recently published on Medium. A lot of people are publishing on Medium now, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I love that he's using this platform.
Yeah, I mean, super progressive. They were the first administration that put the White House photo feed as restrictive as that is. There's been a lot of complaints from the press saying we don't have the same access as we used to.
Right.
But he did set up a Flickr feed for the White House, which has a ton of really great photos because Pete's a great photographer. And in this Medium article, he basically shows a photo of the president in all 50 states that he's taken over the past 6 years.
I think he should make a book out of this because these collection of images are amazing. And it's a really interesting way to look at the US in the past 6 years and like what's happened.
It reminded me almost immediately of those BuzzFeed articles of, 10 things that only people from Arizona would understand.
Right.
Because of course you go to your state first to
Right.
see where the photo was taken. Where was Texas taken?
He was at the University of University of Texas in Austin. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Trying on cowboy boots. And I of course I looked at Hawaii's.
Yeah.
They pulled him in the ocean.
Of course. This is a gorgeous photo here. Look at the placement of bodies in the Golden Gate.
I mean, Pete just nails it every time. Every state.
You know, I totally understand the complaint of the White House press corps of not having access and having just, you know, Pete taking the photos.
Absolutely.
But thank God he's a good photographer.
Right. Yeah.
But, you know, the complaint again is that, you know, he creates all of these hero shots. And that is not what, you know, documenting the president is about. Well, this isn't so much of a hero shot, this particular one.
Yeah, this one is sad. You know, some of them were very, very moving. That's him in Connecticut right before he's about to do a speech for the Newtown School.
Yeah.
Newton, excuse me.
So great set of photos, obviously 50 of them. They should have added Guam and American Samoa and Puerto Rico, all of the territories where they don't get to vote, sadly.
Oh, yeah.
But that would have been interesting as well. I don't know that he's been to all of those places, though. But great set of photos. Check them out on Medium, and you can get those links on blog.photoshelter.com. The National Geographic Traveler Photo Contest is upon us once again. The 27th annual, and you have another few weeks until June 30th to enter. And the interesting thing about Nat Geo is that they show you all the entries. Rolling, you know, set, which I guess is one of the most transparent ways of kind of looking at how you're doing in comparison to other things. And I got to say, you know, you look at these photos and then eventually you see the winners of these contests that are crowdsourced. There are some really good photographers out there who are not full-time photographers. Super nice. You know, you look at this portrait here. This is Mattia Passerini, a member of the Cognac photo from northeastern India, like a beautiful, beautiful portrait. Underwater stuff taken in the Arctic. I can't wait to see the winners of this contest. A vulture and a hyena.
Do we know who's judging this?
We don't. That would be interesting. You know, I have a set of interview questions out to the director of photography over at Nat Geographic Traveler, so I could ask him.
Oh yeah.
That out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But once again, you know, this is Alan Taylor who does this, who edits this down, the In Focus feature. And again, you know, he came from the big picture over at the Boston Globe. Since we're on the topic this week, the image quality of these images, again, is so much higher than Time Magazine. Time, what are you doing? Kira Pollock, I'm going to send you an email and complain about the image quality.
Oh, no.
But fantastic work here. It kind of makes me want to go out into the forest and take photos of bears. Except for those bears that got trapped on the highway, and that thing whole happened. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
Anyway, now we come to the Instagram portion of the show. You can't have a show without talking about Instagram and mobile photography, because it is photography now. And Getty Images has come together to fund projects of people who primarily have been shooting and distributing through Instagram. $30,000 for a new photography grant program. And it's based, you know, people often are concerned with assembling their portfolios before awards season, but this is totally based off of your Instagram feed. So if your Instagram feed isn't already, you know, the style that you shoot in, you're not going to have much success. But this is really cool. $30,000.
Yeah, that's so much. I do wonder how, you know, they're going to be choosing the winners, because sometimes I feel like Instagram's just a giant popularity contest, you know, and so I hope it's not just shifted to those that
have a lot of likes.
Exactly, get that, have the most followers, etc.
No, I gotta suspect that they're savvy enough to really look at the photographic quality. You know, my question now is, at what point in the history of photography are we going to stop treating Instagram and mobile photography as a separate category? I know that's happened a little bit already, but every time that you know, I remember in Superstorm Sandy, which was what, 3 years ago? something like that.
Yeah.
When Ben Lowy had the cover of Time shot with his iPhone, and it was still a big deal. It was like, oh my God, we sent out photographers with their iPhones, and one of those photos became the cover. And
that was a big deal.
It was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And the iPhones are so great now, and there's the Sonys and the Samsungs. I mean, all these cameras are so great now. Like, what's the big deal? Why do we still make that distinction? I don't know. That was number one. Here's number two. A man steals $150,000 from a bank just so he can put it on Instagram. This is coming from Gawker, which is not that much of a surprise, but he really just wanted to have a photo of what $150,000 looked like. So he went to a bank and gave the teller the note. And here's the note. And then
he threatens to blow up if she refuses. Blow up the bank.
Listen, I'm all for getting a nice shot in your Instagram feed and getting a lot of likes and whatnot, but come on.
This is a little much.
This is a little much.
The guy is clearly insane if you read any of the quotes they have in the article.
Yeah.
I wonder what the creators of Instagram, they probably never thought that it would be used as an excuse to rob a bank.
See, this is part of this culture of like popularity contests here, because why else would you rob a bank? That's just dumb. That's a huge crime that you could go into jail for a long time, especially threatening to kill people. That's not good either.
Right. Like for like, Alan.
Instagram. Here's Instagram number 3. This is during the Baltimore riots. Again, so much civil unrest in the past couple of years. The Baltimore riots, Freddie Gray, who died in a police van. 6 officers were indicted as a result of that. And during the riots that occurred in the aftermath, self-taught photographer Devin Allen, who's also a Baltimore native, was out and about taking photos of the protest. In part because I think he, like many people in these areas, Staten Island, Ferguson, etc., really feel like the media coverage is biased. They're really showing you kind of one side. Everyone wants to focus on the protests and the violence. And, rarely do you see the photos of people cleaning up the next day, the next morning, for hours and hours and hours. So Devin Allen is 26, and he's out there shooting with his phone. He's shooting them in black and white, publishing them on Instagram. He's captioning stuff, telling people where he is.
Yeah, and the photos have just gone viral. And now he's graced the cover of Time twice.
And fantastic stuff. Here's the cover. And a great, first of all, it's black and white, and Time did a really nice job saying America 1968 and then crossing it out and saying, no, this is actually 2015. And a great photo of this young black man running in front of the cops. And you just can't believe that it's a month ago that this happened. Crazy. So Devin, here's to all of the citizen photojournalists who actually take that responsibility very, very seriously and are trying to hone their craft and tell a story. And thank God for Instagram. In this case, we're not talking about stealing $150,000. We're talking about a native on the ground showing what's really, really happening. And we've seen this in a lot of other places like Syria and Iraq and whatnot. And what a interesting time we live in with this technology.
He's the one who should win the Getty Instagram grant.
Oh, for sure.
Apply for that, Devin.
Shoo-in, yeah. Time says, 1968. Let's actually go back in the day because we love these old photos. And there is a exhibit of a photographer's work. The photographer is Jerome Liebling, who passed away in 2011 and shot New York City for over 50 years. So at the Stephen Kasher Gallery in New York City through June 6, a lot of his photos. And here's the first one in the series on slate.com. A young black child looking terribly dapper with his coat.
I know, so cute.
Wow. But a mix of black and white and color, and this is just cool. This is just cool stuff.
I know. I want to go back to New York in that time.
I
Although
know.
this right here almost looks like it could be current day deep Bushwick
Almost, right?
still. Yeah.
It's crazy how it's all like retro-y Bushwick. Yeah. You know, the only thing that really kind of gives it away in a lot of cases, although as we'll see in a later story, you know, I'm going to say like haircuts to me now are the largest change because so much of the clothing comes back.
Yeah,
So
loops
you
back.
see it looks retro, but it looks contemporary in some ways. Ah, I love these old photos. Love them. Great stuff. So that's Jerome Liebling at the Stephen Kasher Gallery here in New York. So if you're visiting or if you're in town, go see them. Great stuff. I slipped this one in, Sarah, but you might have seen it in the list that we always prepare before the show. And this is a series of photos taken in 1913, and they're color photos. And the film, or the process, if you will, is called autochrome, and it's actually glass covered with potato starch or something like that, photosensitive potato starch. And it's incredible, the colors. 1913, and you think about film sensitivity at that time, wasn't that high. So this photographer's daughter is the model. Mervyn O'Gorman was 42 when he took these photos of his daughter Christina in the English county of Dorset. And, you know, to my previous point, her face and even her haircut, they look very, very contemporary. Of course, most people wouldn't wear a jumper or a romper to the beach, but who knows? Maybe they do now.
Yeah, no, totally. These look like they could be lookbook
Oh, yeah.
pictures for a current day fashion line. Like, they're beautiful. To be honest, I didn't realize that they were actually color photographs. I thought it was one of those articles where it's like, we colored these old
Yeah.
photographs, you know?
Yeah.
But no, I see now. That makes it much more authentic and beautiful.
This is like Ryan McGinley shooting on autochrome
Right, right.
from 1913.
Yeah.
I mean, these are just lovely photos.
They are. I wonder what else this guy shot. I mean, you can tell he's
got an eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got an eye, and you know what? He's one of these parents who's like, "Hey, go, you're my model." And the daughter complies, and she's an attractive model, so it's like makes the photos all the more interesting.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
This is unmatchable. These photos, you definitely, every photo we talked about, you got to look at, but these photos are incredible. You need to see these. There is a very interesting project called the Nikonos project. Sarah, you're too young to remember this, but back in the day, Nikonos made a completely waterproof camera called the Nikonos, and the last version of that was the Nikonos 5. And you think about digital cameras now and the huge housings that you need to put on to shoot underwater. And back in the day, Nikon created this, which is no bigger than an SLR. And it had changeable lenses. And this bright orange was kind of the Nikonos color. But there's a guy, Brandon Jennings, who kind of fell in love with these cameras, and so he bought up 250 of them, and he started shipping them to people who wanted to use them. And the only catch is that you have to pay for the shipping to send it to the next guy in the queue. So people are shooting with film underwater for the Nikonos project, and then they post them on social media.
I wish that there was a system like this borrowing system he's created, which I think is such a cool concept, and what creates a great sense of community and makes them that much more shareable, all the images. I wish there was something like that for a regular camera, not an underwater one, because then I would totally sign on.
You mean like old film cameras?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not going swimming that much, so.
And you don't want to start it for film cameras, is what you're saying. Like someone else started.
Basically.
We are in the Uber generation where it's all about a shared asset.
Exactly. Like the companies don't own the product that they're providing. Yeah.
Because how often are you actually going to use a Nikonos camera?
Yeah,
probably not that often. So you go to a beach, you use it for a couple of days, and then ship it off to the next person. I'm super interested in all this stuff. I might get my name on the queue there.
You should. You definitely should for the summer.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I wonder how long the wait is.
Well, in this article, it says on Engadget that the queue is now 2,500 people long.
Wow. Oh my
So
gosh.
if I put my name on there, I might get it maybe next year or so.
Yeah, really. Oh no.
But Brandon is trying to acquire more Nikonos cameras, and of course, they are getting harder and harder to find. But what a cool project.
Very cool.
Here's the last one. We always try to end on a fun note, and this came out on Gizmodo, but it was so popular, this set of images, that I've already seen it on the Fat Jewish and some other humor sites on Instagram. You know, almost the day it came out, they were kind of syndicating it in their feeds. So what we're looking at is a fake arm selfie.
Selfie stick.
Yeah, it's a selfie stick, but it's like a hand. So it looks like you're holding the hand, which of course is reminiscent of Murad Osman's feed.
Ah, yes.
Of with Follow Me Leo.
Yes.
And Murad is I mean, from his name, I'm assuming he's the Turkish guy, but you know, he and his girlfriend get invited by all these travel bureaus and countries to replicate essentially this shot in different places around the world, and that's kind of his part-time living. But now you don't need a beautiful girlfriend or beautiful boyfriend because you can just get the selfie hand.
I love it.
The only thing I'll say about this hand, it looks like it's from The Walking Dead.
I know. Like, is it a zombie? It's like a zombie selfie stick.
It's not an attractive hand.
No, it's not.
Oh man, it was funny. You know, it reminded me, oh gosh, it's been a while now, but there was a Japanese photographer in our annual wrap up of you know, 17 Reasons to Love Photography, but there was a Japanese photographer who took selfies of himself, but he'd kind of arrange his hands so it looked like somebody was feeding him.
Oh, that's right.
And he was smiling, and then he took the camera at a really high angle so it looked like a girl. Oh, and he would paint fingernail polish on one hand.
Yes, it was
so
his
it looked
fake
like
girlfriend.
an attractive girl. Yeah, his fake girlfriend. It's that you know, what people will do to get a photo on Instagram.
I know, they'll rob in banks, getting selfie sticks that look like hands. This is getting absurd.
You know, maybe what we need too is maybe a whole line of these selfie sticks where it's like a cat paw, a dog paw.
That would be good.
Or just, you know, attachments for existing selfie sticks. I don't need to make this whole selfie stick. I can just make the paw.
Yeah, true.
All these ideas we have, you wanna Uber of film cameras, and I want to have paw attachments for selfie sticks. Well, that was a lot of photography to talk about. So you're probably going to want to watch this thing in slow motion. There was so much photography. What an episode. So we'll bring it back together in a week or two with more great photography. But thanks for joining us again. All the links you can find on blog.photoshelter.com. So for Sarah Jacobs, this is Alan Murabayashi signing off. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.